Hey, just a warning, viewer discretion is advised. The content featured on this channel is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It may not be suitable for all audiences. Welcome back. Yes, once again late. Sorry about that. I'm Matt, and this is Mr. Canucks Grow. Today's episode is loaded with action from beginning to end. But to catch you up very quickly, episode 1 was the build-up to all of this. Starting seeds, building out root zones, transplanting, and you already know all the good soil recipes that come with it. The training, the defoliation, the non-stop plant maintenance. There was a lot of it. After training plants all day, even Ellie started seeing visions. But every bit of that work had one goal: filling these empty tents wall to wall with healthy growth. It's finally harvest time, and not just for one small 4x2 tent either. I have 3 waiting to come down, each larger than the last. All grown using the same simple gardening practices with one hopeful outcome. Episode 2 picks up in the final weeks of the grow cycle. The 3x3 AC Infinity tent has officially entered the home stretch. Most of the heavy lifting is behind us. Before long, it will be time to cut them and hang them up and do everything possible to preserve every bit of aroma, flavor, and terpene goodness. Here on out, it's all about consistency, patience, and letting the plants finish on their own schedule. Essentially, all 3 tents are in cruise control, are in finish mode. That sounded cooler in my head. Inside this tent, I am running an apple fritter bay cross, and this one has been a pretty interesting cultivar to watch finish. Apple fritter already has that reputation for dense, chunky flowers, heavy resin, and that sweet dessert-like profile. But crossed into bag, well, now this plant seems to bring a little more weight, a little more grease, to the point where even Ellie had to step in for quality control. And honestly, she looked concerned about how sticky the inspection was getting. This is the stage where the little details really start to show. The flowers are swelling, the resin is building, the leaves are pulling back in color, and the whole plant is shifting its energy into the finish. And in a 3x3 tent, that timing matters, because every corner of this canopy counts. And honestly, that's where this little setup has surprised me over the years. Running only 260 watts in a 3x3 with no added CO2, I've come to expect somewhere around 300 grams on average when the tent is properly filled out and bursting with flower coverage. Yields are always going to vary depending on the strain, the pheno, the plant, the structure, and how well the run comes together, but after growing a wide range of genetics, I found that around 300 grams is a pretty realistic target for a space like this. And for a home grow, that's a solid return. It's actually pretty wild what a small, efficient setup can produce. And once you've got 2 or 3 tents running with this kind of canopy, those harvests start stacking up fast. Now, by this point in the grow, the objective shifts. These plants got their final top dress back in the middle of week 5. With organics, timing is everything because I'm not feeding the plants, I'm feeding the soil. The amendments need time to break down, the microbes need time to cycle those nutrients, and the plants simply take what they need from that living ecosystem. And that's why I don't flush organic soil. I just stop adding nutrients and let the plants naturally finish with what's already available. And right now you can actually see that process unfolding across all 3 tents. The leaves are starting to fade back in color. Some plants are pulling from their older fan leaves, and the canopy is showing those late flower signs that the plants are shifting energy away from aggressive growth and more into ripening and swelling and finishing. At this stage, the plants are basically living off their savings account, cashing in every last reserve they have, all in the name of bigger, frostier flowers. Needless to say, the microbes in the soil have been hard at work. Which is exactly why I've been trying something a little different. If you've seen episode 1, you already know it's nothing crazy. I'm just adding a bit of microbial support into my watering once a week using monkey juice and sticky Bandit from Cronk Nutrients. There's already biology thriving in the soil doing a lot of the heavy lifting on its own, but adding extra beneficial microbes through monkey juice alongside carbs from sticky Bandit to help feed and support that microbial life just feels like a natural fit for this style of gardening. It's basically giving that living soil system a little extra support, helping keep the biology active, thriving, and constantly working away at breaking things down for the plant. And especially this late in flower, that matters. Because even though I'm done feeding, the soil doesn't just shut off. The biology is still working, the amendments are still cycling, the plant is still deciding what it needs and what it can use. The trick with organics is trying to stay ahead of the plant. Top dressing before they're starving, reading the canopy before things get ugly, and understanding that if you wait too long, you're not really fixing the problem that day. You're chasing it, most likely. And with organics, chasing usually means you're already a little late, obviously. But now, I'm entering the final stretch, the last week of flower. It's that stage where visually, it can feel like not much is happening, but in reality, the plants are still hard at work. The flowers are packing on their final bit of weight, calyxes continue to swell, and the resin heads are still maturing. Every morning, it does seem like there's just a little more frost than the previous day. Heading into this final week, this apple fritter bay cross is making a pretty strong case for herself. She's showing all the signs of a phenotype that might be worth keeping around. Moderate to heavy production, her terpene profile loud enough to smack you in the face the second the 10 opens, and from veg through flower, she really hasn't demanded much attention. What started as fairly modest bud sites have now swollen into dense uniform colas stacked tightly through a double air trellis beneath a 260-watt LED in the AC Infinity S33. Structurally, I'd say she held herself together pretty well, very little flop considering the weight she is carrying, but let's be honest, the second trellis layer wasn't exactly optional, it was more of a survival strategy. In these final days, the plant begins to turn inward. With each watering, the soil biology continues breaking down what's left in the medium. But at this stage, most of the nutrition is coming from within the plant itself. Nitrogen is pulled from the fan leaves, chlorophyll fades away, and those deep greens give way to yellows, oranges, and flashes of purple, pinks, and reds. The trichomes have shifted too, with amber slowly creeping in. Terpenes are at their peak, and every time the 10 opens, the room fills with aroma. And eventually, the final watering comes and goes, and the pot grows light one last time. The fade has set in, the aromas have peaked, and the flowers have finished their work. Harvest day is no longer approaching, it is here, and after months of planning, mixing, training, and waiting, it's finally time to chop. Okay, there's always been a bit of a debate around this stage. Dark period, timing the chop, ultimately just trying to push for that perfect finish. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to one thing: reading the plant. This 3x3 tent has been sitting for an entire day, in complete darkness. During that time, the S33 LED has been turned off, while the fans and ventilation have been left on to control the environment. I've recruited a little help today, my partner in crime, Ellie. She's a little more excited to get to work than I am, although help might be a bit of a stretch. Now, before anything gets cut, before a single branch comes down, I am checking the trichomes one last time. I just want to make sure that the cloudy to amber ratio is right where I want it. I've got a few more tents waiting for me to come down, so I'm starting with the easy one. Consider it a warm-up. Now, as tempting as it is to take the whole plant down in one go, with a double layer trellis like this, that's not happening. Instead, I'm gonna break it down branch by branch. Clean, manageable sections ready to hang. And before they go up or get hung up, I give them a quick cleanup. Large fan leaves come off first, and anything dead or lacking resin, gone. This opens things up, improves airflow, reduces moisture pockets, and ultimately sets the stage for a proper dry. From here, they're ready to be hung upside down in a controlled environment. But this is just the start, because over in the 4x2 there's a single ocean fruit pheno waiting, dialed in, finished, and ready to be taken down. And in the 5x5, a full room of mixed strains all hitting their window at once. Multi-phenos, different structures, all demanding the same attention to detail. So while this tent might be the warm-up, the real work is just getting started. Thank God Ellie's here. Over in the 4x2, I've got a single ocean fruit pheno holding it down. I've run a handful of these before, and every time, like clockwork, those stems start fading into deep reds and purples as she finishes. Now this one is fully intertwined in the trellis, only one layer, but still, it's not exactly going to be a clean escape. The plan here is simple. I'm gonna try and take her down as an entire plant, which means before any cuts are made, I've got to carefully start weaving these branches back out of the net. One by one, without doing too much damage along the way. The final yield in this 4x2 should land right around the 200-gram mark. Now, if I'm being critical, the overall canopy coverage wasn't the best I've ever had. There was definitely some unused space in the tent, but as you saw throughout the grow, I did everything I could to maximize the situation. From training to maintenance, the goal was always to push her as far as possible and make the most of the space available, which isn't a lot. When you factor in the Spider Farmer LED powering this entire grow only pulls 200 watts from the wall, well, this makes this a pretty efficient setup overall. Not a bad return from a single plant under a relatively low powered light. And of course, naturally, you already know I'm gonna hold her up like it's the biggest fish I've ever caught. All things considered, I'd say she delivered. Now, while this plant was getting the full hang dry treatment, the ocean fruit pheno I ended up preferring was still standing tall in the 5x5, patiently waiting for its turn. But this one won't be coming down as a whole plant. The structure was much larger, the branches were packed with weight, and to make the drying process a little more manageable, I decided to break it down branch by branch before harvest. And judging by the way these flowers were looking, there was no shortage of work ahead. Now, this 5x5 was a bit of a lackluster run-through flower. I think I came in a week or so late on the feeding, and from that point on, I was basically chasing the rest of the cycle. But even with that, this tent is still packed wall to wall with some towering colas. And there is a nanoglue in here that no matter what the pheno, it just seems to always deliver those resin-soaked flowers. All in all, the natural fade has really set in across this canopy. If you made it this far into the video, I've got to say thank you. I appreciate you being here. If you really enjoyed it, take a second to drop a like, leave a comment, and hit subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. All the sponsor links and discount codes are down in the description, so if you're looking to gear up, you can save a bit of money while supporting a non-monetized channel like mine. But honestly, the biggest support is just you showing up and watching, so thank you for that. And if you're looking for more content or early releases, feel free to check me out on Patreon. Once again, everything you need is linked down below. And now Ellie and I have to get back to work.
I went to the dang old medicine man just to see what he had for free. I said I'm getting up there and it's an old gray mill just ain't what it used to be. Well, my heart aches worse than
When I'm cutting plants down, I always start by stripping off larger fan leaves, and I do my darndest to keep everything with trichomes on it. Because I'm a big advocate of collecting those heads later. However, I don't know if you're like me, but whenever trimming starts, I seem to enter some kind of productivity-fueled cleaning frenzy and end up taking a little more off than I probably should. But as the hours roll by and the monotony starts setting in, something funny happens. My standards slowly begin to shift. Suddenly, a leaf with a little frost on it isn't looking so bad anymore. Then another one gets a free pass, and before long, you're finding all sorts of reasons to leave things behind. It's just a natural progression of trimming fatigue. Once everything is cut, the focus shifts from growing to preserving. Drying is where a great harvest can be made or lost. And all that work leading up to this point, the feeding, the environment, the genetics, it all comes down to how these flowers are handled right now. Too fast and terpenes are lost. Too slow and moisture lingers, opening the door for mold. So the goal here is control, temperature, humidity, airflow, dialing in the environment that allows these branches to dry evenly and slowly. Because this stage isn't just about removing moisture from the flowers, it's about preserving everything the plant built over the last few months and setting the foundation for what comes next, the cure. But to get there, the dry has to be right, and dialing in this manually can take some serious trial and error, which is why tools that help control the environment can make a big difference. When it comes to drying, this is where it usually happens. My dry room. Now, it doesn't exactly scream state-of-the-art, basically just a room that's been bullied into becoming a drying space. But for a home grower, it works. I've got an AC unit in the next room, helping keep temperatures down, or at least down enough. It's not perfect, but it's consistent enough to get the job done. And if humidity starts acting up, I've got a dehumidifier or a humidifier, depending on which way Mother Nature decides to swing that week. It's a little more hands-on, but after enough harvests, I have learned to, well, dial it in close enough. Now, recently, VivoSun sent over their new V-Cure unit. It is a dry, cure, and storage unit. It's a gorgeous piece of equipment, but when it showed up, my first thought was exactly how much can I cram into this thing? Because when I'm harvesting 3 tents that finish within days of each other like this run, things escalate quickly. So naturally, I figured there was no way this one unit was going to replace my dry room. For a single harvest though, I think you could fit something like a 3x3 tent into this unit and have it slow dry and finish with a dry weight that is somewhere over half a pound. These are just my rough estimations based on recently filling this thing up. Maybe a little more depending on the cultivar and how bulky the flowers are, so for the average home grower, that's actually pretty respectable. Now as for controls, there are several preset programs, including a standard 14-day slow dry and cure cycle, which is the one I'm currently running. It stabilizes the environment, manages the drying conditions, and lets you spend less time babysitting. Now, will it completely replace my dry room? For me? No. But for an individual harvest, up to a 3x3 tent, maybe a 4x4, probably not. Or growers who don't have the luxury of dedicating an entire room to drying. In those circumstances, I can absolutely see why something like this would become the preferred option. Like I mentioned earlier, this channel is unmonetized. So if you're planning on buying grow gear anyways, using coupon codes from your favorite creator is honestly one of the biggest ways you can directly support the content without spending anything extra. So, to everyone who has used the code, picked up a piece of gear through one of my links, shared a video with a friend, or simply just comes back to watch whenever I do upload, thank you, seriously. I never take that support for granted, and I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. And with that, we'll wrap this one up with a few final cure shots. First up is the apple fritter bag cross. When I crack a nug open, I'm hit with sweet baked apples, creamy dough, and just a little gassy funk to round it all out. I had 2 phenos, both relatively high frost. The pheno in the 3x3 did have a bigger terp attribute. I also should mention I didn't get to shooting all these final cure shots until months after the harvest. So these are cured nicely, but also not the biggest colas I could have filmed. Next up is ocean fruit, lots of red hairs, and stacked big. Despite being pistol bound, the flowers are dense and packing some bag appeal. The aromas lean into sweet fruits with buds that look almost too good to break apart. Almost. And finally, Nana Glue, sticky and exactly what I was looking for out of a glue cross. It's loud, earthy gas, ripe banana, and just enough sweetness to keep things interesting. The resin on this one is no joke. It practically wants to stay attached to your fingers. To be frank, they all do. Overall, I'm really happy with how this run turned out, and I hope you enjoyed this different style of video as much as I enjoyed putting it together. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see more like this. If you're still watching this video, I appreciate it. If you could do me a favor and just hit the like button, or at least do it for Ellie. She doesn't understand what a YouTube algorithm is, but I've been telling her it runs on snacks and attention. As always, if you're looking to gear up your own grow, check out the links and coupon codes in the description below. Using those codes is one of the best ways to support the channel, and it will save you a few bucks at checkout. And if you want to see videos before anyone else, get access to bonus content, and just support what I do here, come join the community over on Patreon. Thanks for watching, thanks for growing with me, and I'll talk to you in the comments.